Hey guys, welcome back. So now we're getting back into the 2021 Hulk series with Smashtronaut Part 2. And really this is one of those things to where so much has happened at this point and the story is just so out there to where it really just has me in this headspace of where I'm just gonna ride this thing out, see where it goes, because everything that I've seen happen here so far has just got my curiosity building up higher and higher. Because at this point, I truly believe I'm gonna need to get through a lot more than just the first 2 issues to really establish like a stance on how I feel about this. So with that said, let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch your spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squad up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so hopping back in just after Banner had fought his way through a ton of Hulkbusters and made his way to Tony Stark's Project Ark in order to commandeer the unfinished project and make use of this unstable wormhole. And when we jump back in just after he broadcasts his message and he makes his way through, and it's here where we see him enter the astral dimension between space, and immediately he's confronted by the alternate universe timeline hazard operations response and interventions team, who immediately make me think of Invincible just because of Ryan Ottley's art. But unfortunately we don't spend much time with these guys, because for Banner, after making his way through, we see him give no heed to their warning when the Starship Hulk smashes through this whole crew while giving no acknowledgement to their presence. And as it turns out, this happens because Banner was asleep at the wheel, which likely was a result of how we'd seen before when Banner had first went through the wormhole, and the stress of just stepping through it had mental Banner just bleeding through his eyes and his nose and everything. But at this point, with Banner smashing everything in his path, you know, Smashtronaut, Pluto. But then it's here where he finds the Starship Hulk getting pulled into this dimensional fissure, which has the Hulk bound up, and the energy coming from it is straining the Starship Hulk's limitations, which are then causing Banner to get all these warnings, letting him know that physical regression is imminent because someone or something is attempting to capture him and pull him in. So at this point, Banner's kind of given the decision like either the Starship Hulk breaks free or he allows himself to get taken in. But if he does nothing and he just struggles in between, then this thing will force the exterior Hulk to revert back to the human form of Bruce Banner, leaving him on the outside to deal with whatever this is. So of course, naturally, this causes Banner to demand more power from the engine room, which from here causes him to elevate things from stage 1 to stage 2. And like we'd seen with how this is done with Bruce locking the Hulk away in the engine room, so that every time he moves the lever, the Hulk's attacked, so that the higher the stage, the angrier the Hulk gets, with him having to fight harder on each stage, which then gives Banner more power from the engine room to give to the Starship Hulk. But also with the seeing this and Banner having it designed to where Fing Fang Foom and all these classic monsters from your earlier issues of Hulk are showing up in the engine room to attack the Savage Hulk, and already it seems like these aren't like just generic foes coming to attack the Hulk. And it really seems like within each stage, Banner has it designed for the Savage Hulk to face a familiar enemy, which will either raise in difficulty or it'll be tied to specifically who made him more angrier over the years. And that's just one of the things we'll have to wait and see. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments and we'll probably refer back to it at a later point. But then it's here where Banner realizes that whoever's wheeling him in, that they're also scanning the Starship Hulk specifically for gamma radiation. And when Banner sees this, right away he thinks that it's the Avengers and they found him and they're trying to find some way to wheel him back in. And as a result, he then goes from stage 2 up to stage 3. And this is what takes us from seeing the Savage Hulk destroy all these classic monsters to where now and it's kind of ridiculous, but it goes to where now at stage 3, he now has to face a giant sized classic Wolverine, which again for the Hulk is one of those back down memory lane matchups, but of course in this case over exaggerated like through the roof. But once again, like I mentioned before, it really feels like Banner has handpicked the opponents for each stage in a very strategic way to gradually get the Hulk angrier and angrier so that Banner can get the most out of this engine room. And with them literally using a giant sized Wolverine for stage 3, it really seems like the order and the selection of these opponents is very intentional. But also just out of curiosity, let me know who you guys think is at stage 10. Just curious to know what you guys think, because so far it's looking like we're getting specifically past opponents of the Hulk, rather than just generic or random people for him to fight, with stage 1 being the military from presumably your old classic General Ross going after the Hulk days, 2 being Fing Fang Foom and the classic monsters, and stage 3 bringing in Wolverine. Because it really looks like with each of these, Banner's aiming to hit a nerve. But at this point, with the Starship still under restraint, Banner's now upset with the Hulk, yelling for him to get up and fight Wolverine, because at this point the Hulk is not generating enough power for the engine room. And from what it seems, Banner can only crank it up after the Savage Hulk has completed did the previous stage. But I also like is here where Betty steps in and we're not really sure of what specifically her role is, because at this point it appears like she's a construct that was designed also to look like a crew member, and it looks like Banner had built her along with the bridge and everything else in his mind to put her like in an advisory role to either will him back or speak reason to him at times, or she may have been placed there by other means. But still, that's kind of one of those things that we're figuring out as we go. But when Betty steps in here telling Bruce that he's going to break the Hulk, he tells Betty that she's wrong because as far as the Hulk, he's the strongest there is. As we see the Hulk defeat this version of Wolverine by breaking off one of the adamantium claws in his mind and putting it through this Wolverine's chest. But even with this happening and the Hulk completing stage 3, Banner's still getting alerts for critical damage and the hull being compromised, and the Starship Hulk still hasn't been able to break free. But then it's here where Betty tells him that Bruce isn't gonna make it because he's not strong enough. And also she goes on to tell him like this is what he gets for making a deal with the devil. And of course Bruce responds like, no, I can do this. To where even for a moment it seems like he wants to take the engine room from stage 3 to stage 4 when we see his hand back on the lever, but in this moment he doesn't do it. But also with Betty making these remarks and telling Bruce of making this deal with the devil. At this point there's a number of ways that could go as far as what that's really referring to, whether it's a callback to whatever happened in El Paso, or if it's a tease towards the theory of Bruce merging with the Devil Hulk after the conclusion of Immortal Hulk. Like the true meaning of what that means, it's in the air. But nonetheless, I imagine that it carries significance, and we'll see soon enough where exactly that's going. But nonetheless, with Betty putting these words in Bruce's ear, and him hesitating but telling her we need to keep going, like they just need more power, and she warns him that doing this will kill, and it's like it's just cut off there. Because without Bruce moving the lever to the next stage, the critical failures continue, with not only damage being taken to the hull, but also to the bridge, as the Starship Hulk just continues to be pulled in. But with this happening, he's not reverted back to Banner form, which is likely a product of him moving it to stage 3, but even still he's taking heavy damage, but still yet in Hulk form. But it's also here like when we see the Starship Hulk get pulled into this other location, like when I first read this I kind of had some ideas of who this might have been, because Bruce's assumption of it being the Avengers, it didn't really sound like that would be the case. And I mean, it does sound like the logical thing for Bruce to think after all the damage that Bruce has caused with them so far. But with Bruce heading through the wormhole this early in the series, I just didn't see him leaving the Avengers, going through the wormhole just to meet the Avengers again. But with him meeting the stranger who not only successfully contained the Starship Hulk, we also know that this guy was searching him for gamma radiation, and the technology he used to capture and contain, they were designed to be used against something or someone who used gamma radiation. And when Bruce sees this guy, of course, he's like, okay, well, who are you? But also upon Bruce's arrival, this guy looks at him and he's shocked that he's finally caught one after all these years, meaning that he's made this a type of practice for some time for whatever reason. But with the stranger bringing the Starship Hulk to his world, Bruce threatens this guy to let him go or else he'll rip his world in half, which from there, like the stranger, he's not threatened, but instead he's just more so shocked that this version of the Hulk is intelligent, which to the stranger's a lot different than the others that he had encountered, with this one being able to reason and understand. But also when the stranger reveals himself to Bruce and he introduces himself as Dr. Bruce Banner, and it's here where I was like, okay, I had a feeling it was another Bruce with us traveling through the astral dimension between space and the potential of reaching alternate timelines, and then the Starship Hulk getting pulled in by some other gamma specialist. Like I had a feeling we're reaching towards another Bruce here. But as far as what other world this Bruce is from, it's really much too early to pinpoint what that could be, because it really seems like something new altogether. But with seeing this, I'm open to the idea of where it could go, because especially after seeing the first 2 issues of this and us diving into the whole Smashtronaut thing, I'm definitely in the headspace of like, okay, I'm just gonna enjoy the ride and see where this goes, because it's likely by the time we get to like the 5th issue or so that we'll have more of an understanding of where this is going, because it's not like Donny Cates to throw in this many things for no reason. And with what I've seen so far, like I gotta stick around and find out like what's going on. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support, and for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below to where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.